this will be the last candidate group question. Then we'll do with our closing. Thank you everybody for sitting with us. Foreclosure and storm recovery. North Minneapolis, new Senate District 59, then Senate District 58 has been hit hard over the past 5+ years due to foreclosure as well as the tornado that took place last year. There has been a lack of response. I think we would all agree from the feds and the states. What message would you carry over to St. Paul on our behalf of the district to start to move things forward?
Disaster relief is a thing I've been studying for like the last 30 years. I knew I wanted to go to grad school to study it. I just started studying it. But it's something like I know the history of disasters. I know I'm studying it inside and out. And if any of you take the chance to friend me on Facebook, you'll see it. Basically, right now, I don't know specifics of the coordination because, to be honest with you, I went there to help with relief. I saw how some relief was happening, but the way a lot of relief is done through the government is not the most effective. It's often through private sources. So those are actually truly are the most effective. So maybe we could do a partnership between the government and those private entities to be able to contract with them to do more of the services because they actually do a better job. The people who were at the core, who getting things done that day, were actually Seventh-day Adventists. They really did a great job.
Thank you. Ray.
Still, 90 seconds.
1 minute.
1 minute, oh great. Foreclosure crisis, of course, is a result of banks perpetrating lies and false presentation to people on what their mortgage would be. In 2004, 2005, 2006, I used to get a call every night from someone trying to get me to refinance my home. Fortunately, I was in a financial place where that was not something that I needed to do. So we need to begin to go after banks. At the local level, I've been knocking on people's doors with the Northside Community Investment Coalition, a fine group of folks. Tornado disaster relief, I'll be flat out and say the city got screwed by the federal disaster relief. We should have gotten relief. Other parts of the country that has much less damage ended up being declared a federal disaster. But we did have some resources. A lot of folks band together to get things done. I organized the architecture profession to provide free design services for people whose homes were hit by the tornado so that they could rebuild their home the way it was.
Thank you. Willie.
As your state representative, I will draft legislation for home incentives, special incentives, for homeowners to have opportunities to buy local properties, such as foreclosures. But I will also draft legislation for construction opportunities to rehab, repair storm housing, affordable housing for our communities, but have homeowners that live on the north side in those homes. That's what we're missing today. People were dispersed in other communities. I want those community folks to come back to District 59B, which was hit quite well.
Thank you. Michael.
One thing that I think that a lot of people are not totally aware of is that HUD was created to honor Martin Luther King by President Johnson back in 1968, the day after he was assassinated. And he pushed Congress, who had let that bill languish in Congress for years, to do it to honor him because of his support for poor folks and folks who didn't have homes. We've somehow gotten away from that and allowed the HUD, which is a part of the Federal Housing Administration, to collapse. We need to work with Representative Ellison and our legislature to appropriately fund it so that we can put those dollars in our community to build those houses that have been destroyed and are in foreclosure here. And provide jobs for people who live here to do it. And that's what I think that we need to do.
Thank you. Tara.
The message that I would bring to the state legislature is this. Again, so goes Northside, so goes the state. So goes the Senate District 59, so goes House District 59B, so goes the state. This is one of the core economic regions for this state. If people can't successfully live here, can't successfully be employed here, successfully educated here, we will lose on all levels. When we start talking about foreclosures and a tornado, part of it is understanding the role of the city, the role of the state, and as Mr. Jones said, the role of the federal government. Where can we partner? Where can we make amends? Where can we use the current programs and dollars that we have that are available at the multiple levels to create a package that will help residents of this district? We have the money, we need to package it.
Thank you. So I think the foreclosure crisis is definitely an indicator of government failing us. I worked with ACORN back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we were seeing houses already getting foreclosed due to predatory practices, and we're fighting banks at that time. Occupy Homes has emerged from the movement and has been occupying homes that are under foreclosure because the government system just is not working for them, for the homeowners. And they're not rectifying the situation in a timely fashion, in a fair fashion for people experiencing this. Our public health system has been funded for over 10 years to address emergency preparedness when disasters happen. And again, I know that our Asian community did not get reached very well through the tornado disaster. So I think what's happening in North Minneapolis, what happened of foreclosures, what happened of tornado, is an indicator of government failing our communities, and we need to change that.
Thank you. Ian.
Well, needless to say, this is something that is very personal to me because I spent 5 years of my life fixing up a house and was destroyed in 16 seconds by the tornado. And the thing that gets me the most is not the fact that the federal government did an inadequate job of responding. What gets me the most is the consumer protection that is not being enforced on the north side. There's lots of people that have their tarps on their houses. Most of them are not people that didn't have insurance. These are people who had insurance. And one of the worst, I mean, there's many bad offenders here, but I would definitely, if elected to the House, be pushing for some serious consumer protection because the insurance companies have failed, and they failed very badly. With regard to foreclosures, one of the things that we often forget is that the banks, yes, they were the bad guys, but the banks now are trying to keep people in their homes, and they need the state to work with them to provide them with the resources to actually permit people to stay in their homes. And that's something that I also think we need to work on.
Time. Everybody.